Good morning, Reformation Lutheran Church and School. This is Miss Jen reporting from the RLCS newsroom. We have breaking news of wild and wonderful animals being observed in the Arctic and Antarctic. This is the Arctic and Antarctic area. It is also known as a polar habitat. Polar because it can be found at both the top of the Earth at the North Pole and at the bottom of the Earth at the South Pole. And habitat because a habitat is an area with a specific climate and ecosystem where animals and plants have what they need to survive. Now, the polar habitat only has 2 seasons, both winter and summer. In summer, it is light for 24 hours a day. That means all day. And the sun will not set for 6 months. But it's still very cold and windy. Don't let that sun fool you. In winter, it's dark for 24 hours a day, and the sun doesn't rise at all for 6 months. So they have 6 months of light and 6 months of dark. That'd be pretty confusing for me. I don't want to live there. Maybe you do. I don't know. The ground is almost always frozen there. In the summer, the top layer of the ice will thaw, but it isn't really enough room for tree roots to grow. So only grass, moss, poppies, and other small little plants can grow in this area. Most animals will live in the water or in caves or holes in the ground. To protect themselves from the cold, the animals must have thick fur or feathers, blend in with the white snow, and or hibernate in the coldest winter months. Most animals that live in this area are carnivores. That means meat eaters, because there really isn't much plants that can grow here. So the only thing to eat, really, is meat. And there are lots and lots and lots of snow over here, but no rain. Still too cold for me. Not for me. Shall we see what guests we have in our studio today? The first guest is this. I think some of us may know what this is. It's an orca, also known as a killer whale. And here we happen to have a picture of a mother and her calf. Now, the name is kind of deceptive. It's called a killer whale, but to be honest, it's not a whale. It's actually a dolphin. It belongs to the dolphin family. Now, dolphins and whales, they're not fish. Fish have tails that go up and down, like stand up and down. The dolphin and whales have tails that are flat. So if you look at how it moves its tail, that's how you know if it's a fish or a dolphin or whale called a mammal. Now, the killer whale, the orca, is a toothed whale, so it has teeth. Some whales don't always have teeth. Although the orcas do not attack humans, they have the name killer whale because they can prey on almost every marine animal, including sea lions and whales. They're also known as blackfish because they have long and rounded black body with white patches on the underside and near the eyes. In fact, those white patches are actually in front of their eyes to help protect their eyes a little bit more. Orcas are extremely social and often live in groups called pods. They are very intelligent animals, and every orca has a unique gray mark behind their dorsal fin. That means at the very top of their back, where that giant fin is in the back, they all have a different type of gray spot there. No 2 orcas are going to look alike there. Male orcas can grow up to 30 feet in length, and female orcas can grow up to 24 feet. That's a lot of me. That's almost 5 of me. That's too big for me. An average lifespan of a female orca is about 50 years old, and for a male orca, it's only 30 years old. They can be found in oceans all over the world. They can live in both types of water, meaning coastal waters and the open ocean. They can swim up to 30 miles an hour, but they can't smell because they don't have any smelling organs. And when they sleep with one eye open. Wow, that was some pretty cool information about you, Mr. Orca. I'm glad you came by. Shall we see who's next in our studio today? It's a family. Let's greet our family. Ready? Here they are. Can you see our families? It's a family of penguins. Very social creatures. And here is a close-up of one of our cute little families. Now, penguins are flightless birds. They're one of the few birds that cannot fly. So instead of their wings, they've adapted them called flippers. And those flippers help them swim in the water. They live in the southern hemisphere closer to the South Pole. They don't live in the North Pole, only in the South. They spend half their time in the water and the other half their time on land. They have black and white feathers. The black feathers help make them hard to see from above, while the white feathers look like the sun reflecting off the water. That means bouncing off the water when they're looked at from below. And they have a special layer of feathers to help keep them warm, as well as a layer of flubber. That's another fancy term for fat underneath their skin to help keep them warm. They'll rub oil from a gland on their feathers to help keep their feathers waterproof and windproof. Waterproof means keeping the water off of them, and windproof, keeping the wind off them so they can't get too cold. They live in large groups where many are keeping lookout for any predators. Plus, when they're all huddled together, they stay nice and warm. They are great swimmers and can outswim a lot of predators, but they can't swim backwards. They can hold their breath for about 6 minutes. That's a lot longer than I can, and I'm not even going to try. They like to eat fish, krill, squid, and other sea life. They drink salt water and have a special gland to push out the salt out of the water through grooves on their bills. So what they're actually drinking is filtered water. That's a pretty cool special feature. And depending on the species, some penguins can be about 4 feet tall, while others are only about a foot tall. So that's 4 square tiles in our classroom compared to 1 square tile in our classroom. And they can have 1 to 2 eggs at a time, and the mom and dad will help take turns keeping the egg warm, as well as the chick. Thanks for stopping by, family. You got to keep that little one warm. We don't want anything to happen to him, okay? And for our final guest today, we have this. It's kind of hard to show. It is a giant bird that spends a lot of time in the air. It's called an albatross. To show how giant it is, here's a couple comparisons for you. The albatross is among the largest of all flying birds. It spends most of their life in the air, but will come on land, mostly islands, to make their nests, and they like making their nests near the nests of other birds. It's called a rookery. They love to eat squid, fish, and krill. They drink ocean water and, like the penguin, use a special gland at the top of their bill to drip. This time they drip salt water out of their nose, so they don't even filter it. It takes several years to get the full adult feathers to show. Now, the albatross has the longest wingspan of any bird. It can span 11 feet. That's almost a little more than twice as me. But they don't have strong muscles to help them while they're flying, so they can't flap their wings while flying. Instead, they'll glide. They can glide for hours, but when they get tired, they'll rest in the ocean. Its heart beats slower when it's flying rather than when it's resting on the ocean, which is kind of interesting for me. They can live up to 50 years old, and they'll lay 1 egg at a time. But if something happens to that egg, they will wait at least another year before trying to have another egg. Thanks for all the hard work you do, and I love seeing all your wide wings. Thanks for visiting. Well, that's all for this segment. Coming up, more wild and wonderful animals of the Arctic and Antarctic. This is Miss Jen reporting from the RLCS Newsroom. May God bless you and your family.